Hello and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Thursday Thoughts? What on earth are they, I hear you ask? Well, my friend Lucy and I meet every week over on Instagram to talk all things personal growth because she is as obsessed with it as I am. And we decided that we might as well put those conversations out as a weekly podcast. So now you can listen to us chat here on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll be talking about topics such as spirituality, limiting beliefs, the ego, imposter syndrome, gratitude, meditation, confidence, and so much more. So if you're ready, here we go.
2024 starts tomorrow. Oh my God.
Yeah.
How?
I think, it's the last day of the year. And I don't know about you, Lucy, but in my inbox, I've had so many emails about, this is a new year, setting your intentions, goals, and, which is all great. And I do actually think this would be a really lovely way as keeping in with what we talk about, just to really talk about some of the things that we do to kind of move from one year to the next and actually it's such a lovely reset. I think a New Year's Eve and a new year, it's a really great opportunity for all of us to kind of put behind us some of the things that perhaps haven't been so great about a period of time, but also looking forward to some of the things we really want to achieve. So I don't know, I mean, it might be quite nice just to kind of look at some of the practices that we do. And one thing which I've been doing, which I think is really valuable for so many reasons, is to really, first of all, celebrate everything. I kind of wrote a list the other day of 10 of the greatest things I have enjoyed, I have achieved, or what the greatest things really of 2023, to remind myself that, actually, all those wonderful things I've done. And it was so funny. We were driving yesterday in the car somewhere, and I was asking Giles, my husband, I said to him, so what are the 10 best things that have happened, 10 best things for you, 10 greatest things for 2023? And he was really struggling to find things which were celebrating himself or celebrating, he was finding things for everybody else or everybody. And I was like, no, what about you? What about you? What has been great for you? And it was interesting that he was finding it hard to actually really pull that out. And I think that's the case for so many of us.
Yeah.
We're great at celebrating other people's achievements and other people's what they've been doing. Yet when it comes to us, we're a little bit modest and we think that we don't want to be boasting. And actually, it is such an important exercise to do, because even if you feel like you've had the shittest year ever and it feels like everything has gone wrong and that you might have had some sadness, whatever it might be, there will be things in this year which will be worth celebrating or just worth just remembering and bringing that energy into it. So that was my first thing. The other thing I think is really, really important is then to really think about some of those energy, some of those things which perhaps haven't gone so well. And, if there was a goal you had set yourself at the beginning of the year and you haven't achieved it, then not to bring that negative energy with you into 2023, 2024, sort of just letting that go and going, okay, that was that. Yeah. Let's clean the slate and then we can start again. So those are kind of the two things I was thinking about.
Yeah, no, I love both of those. And actually, just going back to the first one, as in looking back and seeing what you can celebrate. I think that it's funny, time is such a weird concept, isn't it? On the one hand, I feel like I cannot believe that it's 2024 tomorrow. I just cannot, on any level, believe that it's 2024. It just seems insane because it feels like, I remember so vividly January the 1st last year, or this year rather, and but all at the same time, it feels like a long time since then. So there's this sort of weird duality with time where on the one hand it goes really fast, but on the other hand it does feel like a year has been a long time. And I think anyone who's struggling, so if anyone's sort of thinking, oh, well, I haven't done anything this year and I haven't achieved anything, one of the things that you can do is literally get out your calendar. I'm going to do that myself. I'm going to get out my rose gold A4 size day planner, year planner, and I'm going to go through and look through it and remind myself, because I think it's really easy to forget. Or also, like, look through your phone. We all take photos the whole time. We can get we can get reminders from our phones. That's a good way of doing it. And yeah, totally agree. If there are goals that you set last year that you have achieved, like you say, that we can't take that negative energy into 2024. And one other thing that I think we should be doing. In fact, I did a mini-sode about this recently, and and my newsletter that actually goes out this today is about this. It's about what are we leaving behind in 2023? Like, what are the things that we are not welcome to come into 2024 with us? And that can be things like negative self-talk that we all have. That can be things like, worrying about what other people think. We've got to stop worrying about what other people think. It can be, and also a big one, and this was my most recent mini-sode, which was called Starting Over, Starting Again, Finally Starting, which is basically saying it's never too late to start over. And I think there's this sort of message that we're given by, the culture that we live in, which is, if you have invested a lot of time and energy and money and emotion into something that, if you're like a certain age, or if you've been in a job for a certain number of years, or if you've been in a relationship for however long, if those things don't feel right to you, then it doesn't matter how much time or money or love or emotion that you invested in them. If they're not right for you, we've got to let them go and move on. So I think it's important to just remember that it doesn't, it's actually my birthday tomorrow. I turn 48 tomorrow.
Yay!
And so I've kind of got this. New Year's Day is always a weird one for me, because it's not only the first day of the year, it's also my birthday. But just to anyone out there, and we've talked about age before, but anyone out there feeling like they want to make a change, but they think it's too late, it's not too late. Like, I'm 48 tomorrow, and I really feel, and again, we've both said this before, but I feel like I'm just getting started. So if you've been in a job for 10 years, even if you've invested whatever into it, if it doesn't feel right, then it's time to move on, and you can do that. So I just think that I want people to, I want to sort of encourage people to go into 2024 feeling empowered about being able to make changes, and not feel as if it's too late, and not feel as if they can't. They've been doing something too long. And also, just to have a think about what are you going to leave behind. And I think, again, it always comes down to mindset. And one thing I wrote about in my newsletter is how we've got to leave that sort of soundtrack of criticism, that's just on repeat. We've got to leave it behind. And although it's never going to go, we really need to walk into this next year with just more awareness of our thoughts, because that ultimately is what it all boils down to. Everything starts with an awareness of what you're thinking. That is just really the key to so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's those stories that we carry with us. So something may well have happened, and it's what we make mean from that event, from that thing. Those incidences probably, they might have felt really bad at the time, but it's then the story that we attach to that incident, which we play over and over again in our mind, and those thoughts just carry on, and it just gets bigger and bigger, and then it defines really who we become. So it's having that awareness of those stories that perhaps you have created within this last year. And just seeing now, it's like, right, it's a great opportunity. I mean, obviously you can do whatever, anytime. But, a new year is really a very good opportunity to actually recognize some of those stories and go, right, I'm going to leave that behind. I always kind of like the analogy of, and really this is what we do through life. It's like we have this rucksack on our back, and through life, and even through a past year, we fill it up with pebbles, with stones, with boulders, each one representing an unhelpful thought or an unhelpful belief, or something, a story that we've created about something in a negative way, and it's kind of holding us. It's holding us down. It feels heavy on us. And actually, this is a great opportunity to let's see if we can try and get rid of some of those boulders, those rocks, and actually go into the new year with a really lovely light backpack, because no doubt we're going to start filling it up again. But actually, we can try and just leave some of those things behind. One really lovely way, energetically, which you can kind of go into the new year, a nice thing to do, and it is so simple. And obviously, the thoughts are important, but just also physically try and create some space, because when we start creating space, we're allowing more of the new to come in. So I've been doing this over the last week. Start to declutter. Start to just tackle some of that clutter in your life, which is kind of there, you live with it, but actually you always think, oh, wouldn't it be nice if that drawer was not such a mess and I could actually find something in it. Yesterday I did my sock drawer. And I'm not joking. I ended up with about a quarter of what was in there, because I was anything which had a hole in it, which was majority of my socks and tights, had to go. And it was because I was like, who do I want to be going into 2024? I don't want to be the person anymore who scrabbles around and has to wear holey socks. That's not me. That's not the energy I want to be in this new year. So they all went, and it felt so good. And so it's just little things like that. What can you do to kind of almost show the universe, to signify, this is the energy, this is the person I'm going to become, I'm going to be in 2024. I love that. Jay Watts, you also sorted your sock drawer. Yes to that. And how nice is it going to be when we go in and get our socks for today?
Totally. You know, it's so funny because my mum actually gave me one of my Christmas presents was an M&S voucher, and first of all I was a bit like, oh, M&S, but because the only thing I buy from M&S, like literally the only thing I buy from M&S is underwear and socks, and I'm going to go into M&S and spend the crap out of those vouchers on a whole new load of underwear. Even though I'm single, doesn't mean I can't wear nice underwear. And totally, it's so you're so right. It's about kind of when you physically declutter, you make space for other things to come into your life, and actually decluttering is such a good thing to do a little bit of on a regular basis, like you say, just one drawer or one cupboard or whatever it is, but it feels so good, and it really does allow room for things to come in. And funnily enough, over the last couple of years, I swear I've never done so much decluttering in my life. Where I live, we happen to have had a skip twice in the last 2 or 3 years, and both times, and I live in a studio flat, so I mean I have barely any possessions really. I've got like hardly any clothes anymore because I've been ruthless about throwing clothes out, and it's actually, you know, stuff. What's really interesting is that when you live in like only one room, you really have to get serious about what you're going to keep and what you're going to let go. And what I found is actually it's so I love the fact that I've just got fuck all stuff. Like I've got the pictures on my wall, I've got CDs, don't laugh, I've got books, you know, and really not that much stuff, but it's a great feeling. And even I, who has really not very many possessions, I can still declutter like quite regularly. Still, you know, just get rid of more and more and more stuff, and it's an amazing feeling. Polly, one thing I was going to say before I forget is, obviously everybody talks about New Year's resolutions on New Year, and actually I don't really buy into New Year's resolutions. I think that, just, you know, we all know they don't last. People do them for weeks. I think that rather than setting resolutions or, you know, making New Year's resolutions, the best thing to do is to go into 2024 with just one goal, or one or two goals, like maximum, just one or two things that you want to fricking nail this year. And that can be something like, you know, your exercise regime, or, you know, whatever it is. It can be to eat healthier or to write the book or whatever it may be. But I think it's so much better to think about it in terms of where you want to be by the end of 2020. I nearly said 2023. Where you want to be by the end of 2023. Well, that's it. Where you want to be by the end of 2024. And I just think it's better to think, or for me anyway, it feels better to think about it in terms of where I want to be and what goal or goals I want to set for the new year, rather than thinking, well, I'm going to make this New Year's resolution to not do that or to do that, and then it just feels really overwhelming. It just feels more manageable. So let me ask you, we could ask each other, what are your plans for 2024, and what do you think you will be leaving behind in 2023?
A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you. So my plans for 2024 is to continue to grow, well, to grow my business. I'm going to get 200 people into my Just Breathe community. That is my goal for this year, which I totally believe is possible. I am. I kind of like to think of this as some of the things I'm going to stop. I'm going to continue doing which I already do. So I'm really, my goal is to continue, my exercise, which I do pretty much most days, to continue my breath work and meditation practice. I'm going to continue to eat well. All of those things I think are really important, and not to disregard those, because obviously I've worked hard to kind of get this feel really healthy and well. So I'm going to continue to do those. And then something I'm going to start is I'm going to continue to grow my business, but I'm going to start, and I said this the other day, I'm going to make sure I eat I'm going to eat greens every single day, like green. And I generally probably do eat some sort of green vegetable, but I'm going to be really conscious about this, because this is something I talk about a lot, but like green leafy vegetables every single day. And that's my small little goal for myself to include in my everyday, because I think there's some days probably where I don't. And I know that would be really good for me, because that's so good for you. And then I like to have one thing I'm going to stop as well. So it's a kind of like a continuous start and a stop. And the thing I'm going to stop is I'm going to stop eating as much refined sugar as I am. I have got such a sweet tooth, and I go through phases of all or nothing. But I want to be able to be that person who is able to really enjoy a gorgeous piece of homemade cake and really relish that. So I don't want to say I'm going to stop it altogether, but I want to stop eating the crappy, refined kind of chocolate bars, or those sorts of things. So I'm going to really consciously go into 2024 being that person who's going to be very conscious about the choices I make when it comes to the sweet things. So that was, you did say just one thing.
Yeah. No, it's interesting to hear it. I'm totally with you on particularly the green leafy. Well, leafy greens I'm quite good at, because actually I tend to eat spinach pretty much every day.
Oh, very good.
But one thing that I've recently added more into my diet is cruciferous vegetables, i.e. broccoli.
You eat a lot of broccoli.
Yeah. I'm a sucker, and I'm sure you are too, for like superfoods. I always eat a lot of blueberries, I eat a lot of avocados, I eat a lot of spinach. I try and get in those kind of quote unquote superfoods, whether you believe in that or not. But one thing I'm not so good at is eating the cruciferous vegetables, which are supposed to be essential, and broccoli is one of the best. And actually, over the last probably couple of months or so, I'll just buy like a big thing of broccoli, and I'll chop it up into the florets, into like little pieces. And then every day I kind of snack on raw broccoli, which I actually really like, and like hummus, because then you're getting like chickpeas in, you're getting the cruciferous vegetables in. So that's one thing. But no, my goals for 2024, one of which is very similar to yours, which is to grow my membership. Another big one, which, well, you and I are both, and in fact, I'm just going to say to anyone who's watching or listening, is that Polly and I we had basically, I don't know if you call it a goal setting session, but we did it was nearly 3 hours, wasn't it, where we talked about, and this is why accountability is so good, because we talked about, okay, where are we going in 2024? What are we trying to achieve in our businesses? We had this whole conversation, and what we've decided, for anyone who's remotely interested in that, when we do our Monday motivation on a Monday morning, we are then going to go on a Zoom together every single Monday and spend like an hour and a half or 2 hours working towards getting a sponsor. Because for me, like, well, both of us, I mean, both of our podcasts are nearly 2 years old, and I just feel like it's time. And as we talked about the other day, we know that we could get a sponsor, because we know that there are smaller podcasts out there who have sponsors, but it's just because neither of us have prioritized it, because it's work to find a sponsor. You've got to reach out to loads and loads and loads of companies, and you've got to think about, well, what companies, and composing the email, all of this. So that is a big goal for me in 2024. I'm freaking determined to get a podcast sponsor, grow my membership, Thrive Solo. That's another thing that you and I did, just for anyone who's interested, is I'm going to launch or relaunch Thrive Solo 4 times in the next year. You're going to do the same with Just Breathe. So that's a big goal, to, you know, welcome more members into Thrive Solo. What else? Things I'm leaving. I tell you what I want to leave behind. One of the things I want to leave behind is, and this is just, it's so boring because we all have it, but, you know, not dissimilar to negative self-talk, is just self-doubt. It's just that kind of, that sort of underlying feeling, which I don't have as bad as I used to, but it's still always there. That just kind of like, are you actually good enough, Lucy? You know, who are you to do this? Or who, you know, even when things like when I put a podcast episode out, so often I'll put an episode out and I'll think, God, is this a total load of shite? Like, I really do. You know, with solo episodes, sometimes with my mini-sodes, I'll whack one out, and I mean, literally, I put one out a couple of weeks ago, and I was desperate because I got really behind and I hadn't done one, and it was the Friday night. I was like, shit, I've got to do. So I did this mini-sode about like films that I love, including a couple of Christmas films, and I swear to God, it was the worst mini-sode I've ever done. But I've got to a point where it's that thing of like, well, done is better than perfect. Done is always better than perfect. And that's another mindset shift, I think, is so valuable to move forward into the new year with. It's thinking done is better than perfect. Because so often we're waiting to be perfect. We're waiting for the right time, which never, ever, ever comes. And actually, when you just take action and when you just make the decision to just do something, even though it's not going to be perfect, like half of my mini-sodes, which are far from perfect, when you just do it, you kind of build up that confidence. And I think that sort of helps to suppress that self-doubt. So, and self-doubt is something that I've always, would you say, suffered from? I suppose we all suffer from self-doubt, but it really is something that it's so boring. I'm just so bored of it. So believing that we have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe in ourselves.
Yeah, and that self-doubt is something I always have as well. I mean, I recorded a whole episode yesterday for the new year, and I scrapped it because I was like, this is rubbish. This is rubbish. I'm not doing it. What? You know, it's so annoying. It's kind of like, you know, I'm sure it was fine, but yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you're kind of thinking, is this the standard I want it to be at? But you're right. We just have to, and neither of us would have got anywhere with what we want to do if we had that mindset of it has to be perfect, because it's impossible for it to be perfect. And actually, you learn so much more quickly if you just get stuff. If you just do the thing, you don't doubt yourself, because actually, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, then you learn quickly and you can move on and do something else. And I think all of us can just really take from that actually, when you have that doubt, just do it anyway, because very sooner or later you'll find out, okay, maybe it didn't work, but that's fine. It's fine. Who cares? Let's just move on and find out what is going to work and what does work for us. We just find it quicker. Otherwise, we just sit on it and nothing happens. We just get stagnant.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, it literally is one of the biggest things if you want to change your life or you want to sort of achieve any kind of success. I think that, you know, you have just got to take the steps, and even though they feel uncomfortable and even though they feel imperfect and, you know, you always feel like it could be better, but actually it's in, you know, and both of us know this from having a podcast, it's literally only through fucking up and doing, you know, putting out an episode that you're like, oh God, cringe, and like you're walking around all day feeling completely like embarrassed about it. It's only by doing that you learn and you grow and you get better. And because ultimately, I think we forget that anything that we start, anything anyone has ever started, people who are like pros in their field, they had to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. And everybody who starts something new, you know, they're not good at it when they first start, but the only way to get good at something is to just do the freaking thing, you know, do the damn thing, not hesitate. And it's just all about, I find it's about these, you know, you've got that sort of devil and that angel. It's like the devil being your ego, which is going, no, don't do it, you're going to look like a dick, or, you know, don't do it because, you know, this is different and it's out of your comfort zone. That's what your ego is saying to you, and it's trying to keep you safe. And then the higher part of you is going, you want to do this, you want more from your life, you've got to do this. So it's just constantly, you know, sort of, what am I trying to say? It's constantly just dealing with those two different voices in your head, but try and listen more to that one than that one. For people who are listening, I mean, try and listen more to your sort of intuition, your higher self, than your ego. Because ultimately, your ego, obviously, we all need it to protect ourselves. And if we didn't have it, we'd be, you know, in quite a lot of danger. But ultimately, it's often trying to protect us from things that we don't really need protecting from. And subsequently, it just holds us back, because it's the fear that our ego shows us that means we don't take the action.
Absolutely. And that's why giving yourself opportunities to get quiet, to be with yourself and away from the noise of and chaos of everyday life is so vital, because it really allows you to tune into your intuition, to that part of you which is not ruled by your ego, because you know that ego part of you is there constantly kind of telling you you're not good enough, you're not worth it. Whereas actually, when you get quiet through practices such as meditation, through breath work, through sitting in cold water, whatever that might be, you are able to really tune into your true essence. And it's those little voices, it's those niggles, that true part of you, that authentic self part of you is worth listening to, because that is what is guiding you to actually where you are going to be most fulfilled, where you're going to be most happy. And that's taken me a long, long time to do, is to really listen to those niggles. And we all know that we've got those niggles. It's that little voice inside you which is going, but I would really love to do that. But then the ego comes and says, well, how are you going to do that? Or how are you going to make money? Or you're not worth it, or whatever it is. But actually, those little voices, those little niggles are absolutely worth listening to, because that is really what you're meant to be doing. But I was just thinking, Lucy, also about, you know, because it's a new year, lots of people are thinking, oh my gosh, this is the time I've got to get healthy. This is a big one. So we've been talking about actually things you want to do, but also in terms of physically, well, and mentally, it's a great opportunity. If you've been saying to yourself for ages, I just need to feel better within my body, I need to work out more, I need to eat better, whatever. This is a great opportunity for that. But then don't get sucked in with all that new year, new you bollocks, in the sense of actually you've got to start doing everything all at once, because again, as we've said, that doesn't work. So this is really just an invitation to think again of just one or two things, small things that you can do, which are going to start to shape your identity to being that new version of yourself. So even if that is getting outside every day and going for a 10-minute walk, do that, then see where that might lead you. If that is just spending, you know, adding in more greens into your diet, do that. Don't try and do too much, it won't work, and then you'll just feel so disillusioned. And I think that, you know.
Yeah, I love that, Polly, and it's so true. And so for anyone out there who's feeling, you know, there are things that they want to do, but they feel too sort of overwhelming, you know, like you just said, it's even if you just do the tiniest step towards it. And this is something I say a lot, which is the time is going to pass anyway. A year is going to pass anyway. And we might as well be doing the 5 or 10 minutes of that thing every day, because if we do that, then by the end of 2024, we're going to have achieved something. And so, yeah, just don't be put off by the overwhelm. And like you say, don't fall for the kind of new year, yeah, let's do this and this and this. No, it's just like one or two little things, because otherwise, inevitably, we're not going to do it. So it's 29 minutes past 9.
Yeah.
Anything else that you wanted to add?
No, just have a really wonderful new year. And you know, I suppose the last thing I would say is that I do think it can carry, you know, we can come into a new year with a bit of shame of all the things that we haven't done, or of what things like, particularly if you're thinking about weight or exercise, or and don't be I just want to say, just don't be shamed into doing things coming into this new year. Do them because you just find what, you know, what, think about your why. Why do you want to to do that, whatever it is, and hang on to that. Don't do it because you ought to, or you should, or you have to. You know, don't be shamed into it, because it will never last either. So really tune into the why you're doing it, and you know, just keep asking yourself, what is important about it? What is important about it? And ask that a few times to yourself, because each time you'll get closer and closer to the real answer of why it's important to you. And then you can move forward, but don't be shamed into doing anything.
Yeah, no, great point. Great point. Well, happy New
Okay.
Year.
And to
On
you.
the other side in 20.
Yes, and happy birthday for tomorrow.
Thanks, love.
Happy birthday. All right, love.
Good night. I'll see you. What day is it? Oh, it's Sunday, isn't it? God, yes, of course, it's Sunday. So we'll be back for Monday
Next
motivation on
Monday,
Monday
not tomorrow.
is that the 8th? Yeah,
Yes, Monday the 8th.
yeah, Monday the 8th. So
See
I'll
you
see
then.
you. Lots of love. Yeah.
Take care.
See you, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.